Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I think to it's our 162nd um, program on this work. This is important work at this time because we're in a dangerous period in this fight for democracy, which is not only a question of what is happening in the United States, but it will have repercussions all over the world. So, as you know, yeah, well, I think, there's a few of us here. I'd just like to welcome you, Johi and Karen and Kim, Leslie and Lori and Martha and Martine and Olivia and Zenaide and Veronica. So we have a nice little group this morning, um, and we'll go ahead and continue with our concern about manipulation, which is essentially, at this time, robbing people of their will and robbing people of their vote. At least that seems to be the intention. Things are quite out of control, and I think we have to work in such a way as to link with the inner forces to bring this into a much better condition. There will be a battle, and we're in the midst of it. And over here, Michael's giving me a hand with everything to keep us on track. So, I'd like to begin by using the second of the great invocations. It was less used, interestingly, than the 1935 invocation, which basically worked with the attempt to evoke goodwill in the world before the latter part of the Great War precipitated upon humanity, which in fact it did. So I guess we seem to be maybe psychologically more ready to confront the emerging possibilities at this time. At least that's my hope and anticipation. Um, but at the time, it was not so, and the war precipitated. And then when it did, a mantram like this was released. A great invocation featuring particularly the first ray. And of course, the Christ as the rider from the secret place, and the Lords of Liberation, who eventually maybe saved the day in 1942, they were invoked here. And if they had not been sufficiently invoked, well, we just don't know what would have happened. Hierarchy felt that humanity would go down, and they actually were preparing for that individuality, but an intervention occurred out of great mercy, but also according to law, because the Lords of Liberation, especially the Lord that has to do with freedom, was invoked by the inchoate demand of many human beings, and also by the specific demand of those who knew how to approach through the use of the second of the great invocations. So let us align. And realizing that the attempt is being made for the forces of obstruction to emerge through that door left ajar. We know this is serious serious business. And we'll continue when our programs are offered, to use this second of the great invocations, and I think that there will be many battles after the election as well. So we will continue with it for a time. We will observe and see the condition of the national and international psyche. It's all being manipulated in the psychic realm. And I'll call that the realm of the subtle bodies, involving both illusion and glamour. And maybe some of the Maya will come in, but it's not the most important thing at the moment. It is a kind of chaos, yes, but unless it is motivated by ill will, it can. So let us work together now. Let the Lords of Liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to the sons of men. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming save. Come forth, O Mighty One. Let the souls of men awaken to the light, and may they stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of woe has come. Come forth, O Mighty One. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, O Mighty One. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming One. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, O Mighty One, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. Oh. And we're using this now precisely so that the rule of evil cannot re-establish itself as it did, especially in the second part of the Great War. So we all have a deep responsibility here, especially as students of esotericism. We have to work in such a way that we add our understanding and our applied energy to the situation, of which these forces of obstruction are trying to take full advantage at this time. It must be obvious to everyone who really thinks about it and it can spread all over the world, and we can have a kind of delayed entrance into the age of Aquarius, maybe delayed by some centuries, or enter into the age of Aquarius in a very difficult manner. You know, everything is spread, the good and the evil, in the sign of circulation, Aquarius. And we want to work for the spreading of the good, for the good, the beautiful, and the true. Now, we'll continue here a little bit with our reading, and then we'll have our discussion and our meditation. The Tibetan is talking about the coming of light and love. Light and love will find radiant expression in the transfigured disciple, which we all one day hope to become if we work in a selfless manner and effectively. So we're gradually, as a human race, entering into realization, and we can, hopefully as members of the new group of world servers, or aspiring members there too, we can take part in the work of enlightenment and of spiritual loving activity, and release ourselves from the thraldom of matter, the dispelling of illusion, the dissipation of glamour. And just recently I did a program, I think probably last night, where we worked with identification as related to the mind as it is in Christ. And that is one of his great abilities, to transcend boundaries and to end separations between people, which are based upon separations based upon superficial perception. So, you know, it gets very simple in a way. We just want a better life. We want a better life for everybody, and we also want a correction, shall we say, of the lives of those who have lost their way. And many have lost their way, but they, you know, can be and will be corrected and brought along the truer path. Now, but first, we have to deal with people who are receptive to these matters, because a great educational project under the second ray is operative at this time. And we're trying to learn who is the real Christ, beyond the many words that we use and beyond the dogma that so many millions of people repeat. We need the actual experience. And so we work to achieve identification, which is probably the simple way of describing what we do. You know, our identification, our identify as being work. Now, going on to today's subject, DK says, this is necessarily no rapid process, but is ordered and regulated procedure, sure in its eventual success, but relatively slow also in its establishment and sequential process. Of course, the masters see far ahead and they know something of the timing. That is a big issue. We want to rush things because the personality is anxious and wants rapid improvement. Well, there can be relatively rapid improvement, but this will extend over that age of difficulty, which the first part of the Aquarian age offers us. Under Saturn, he promises us the difficulties of Saturn as we make the adjustments to each other and bring forward the possibility of better human relationships, oftentimes under strong discipline from our environment and from the powers that be. So it takes time. This process was initiated upon the astral plane by the Buddha. How interesting that his sixth ray mind could think with great clarity about conditions upon the astral plane. He taught two kinds of people, the normal person and the arhats. And his instruction, of course, to the arhats, the becoming initiates of the fourth degree, naturally went beyond any instruction involving the astral plane. But it went to the mental plane when Christ manifested on earth. And maybe that's something a little different than we might have thought, because the Buddha with his third ray monad seems so mental, and the Christ with his second ray monad seems so connected with the sentient feeling energy of the astral plane. Anyway, these two great teachers and what they brought forward was unlike anything that had happened before to humanity on this planet. It indicated the approaching maturity of humanity. Sometimes you look out and you wonder, where is that maturity? Everything seems so childlike and or not even childlike, childish, and overemphasized and blind. And indeed, there are many people still in the early phase of the sixth ray, not the later phases, who basically live the life of desire only and do not yet have an idea of what the higher of the pairs of opposites is really all about. They still live, no matter how intelligent they may be, they still live in the hall of ignorance, the first three petals of the egoic lotus. But anyway, there is a maturity coming to humanity, and part of that will be occurring when a significant number of people enter the fifth kingdom of nature. And we're on the vanguard here, and we have to help others approach in that way. The process has been slowly gathering momentum as these two great beings have gathered around them their disciples and initiates during the past 2,000 years. And I would say, people like ourselves, we can begin to number ourselves as the disciples of these great teachers. Still, we have so much to learn. The past 2,000 years, they have been working, and DK brings to us the knowledge of that kind of work and puts it into perspective. It has reached a point of intensive usefulness as the channel of communication between Shambhala and the hierarchy has been opened and enlarged, and as the contact between these two great centers and humanity has been firmly established, I think we have to remember that both the Buddha and the Christ are becoming seventh degree initiates. They are shambolic beings. It usually takes at least the sixth initiation before it's possible to become a member of that shambolic fraternity. And even on the outer levels, the Great Council is something else, perhaps, something still deeper and more exalted. Now he goes, back in history here, although he's writing in the 40s. At the June full moon, 1942, the first test as to the directness of the communication between the center where the will of God holds sway and the center where the love of God rules, and the center where there is intelligent expectancy, was made. These are excellent names, are they not, when we want to think about the nature of these three great planetary centers. The center where the will of God holds sway, the center where the love of God rules, and the center where there is intelligent expectancy. Now, certainly we can generate among those we teach and those that we may attempt to inspire a sense of intelligent expectancy of a great synthesis which is on its way. The medium of the test was the united effort of the Christ, of the Buddha, and of those who responded to their blended influence. Note that. Blended influence. They are, in a way, like the brothers in Gemini, and their interplay is very strong. They are also Libran partners in the salvation of humanity, and they are great liberators. I'm going through the air signs as I say those things because the air signs will be very prominent in the coming age of Aquarius. So a test, and interesting the year too, because that was the year of great danger, when during the lower interlude it looked like the battle with humanity's dweller would be lost. The test had to be carried out in the midst of the terrific onslaught of the powers of evil, and was extended over the 2 weeks, beginning on the day of the full moon, May 30th, that is a Gemini part, and ending on June 15th, 1942. So many things going on behind the scenes as part of the plan, part of the response, and we can have no idea. It takes us back to a time 80 years ago, something, but at the same time, we should not imagine that similar internal activities are now occurring in preparation for the emergence of the hierarchy first and then of the Christ. There was a great concentration of spiritual forces at that time, and the use of a special invocation, one which humanity itself may not use, let us note that, but the success or failure of the test was, in the last analysis, determined by mankind itself. So, an internal test of invocation, which humanity could not participate in immediately, but later, yes. Okay. And I guess this began to ward off the possibility of humanity's defeat in the same year. I wonder if we can ever grasp what it would mean for a condition to arise in which the millions of years of human development all were for naught, and the whole process had to be started again. We don't seem to be there right now, but we are challenged. You may feel, though wrongly, that not enough people knew or know about or understand the nature of the opportunity or what is transpiring. Okay. But the success of such a test is not dependent upon the esoteric knowledge of the few, but the relatively few to whom the facts and the information have been partially imparted. And I think we have to think of ourselves that way, as those to whom a little something has been given, but not the full story by any means. It is dependent also upon the tendency of the many who unconsciously aspire towards the spiritual realities, who seek for a new and better way of life for all. As I said, that really impressed me. The Christ consciousness is filled with the intention that everybody shall have a new and better way of life. For some people, it will mean some drastic corrections and painful, but it will lead to good. So the dependency also is upon the unconscious aspiration of the many, who seek for a new and better way of life for all, who desire the good, and whose longing and desire for a true experience of goodness, of right human relations, and of spiritual enterprise among men, whose longing and desire is for these things: the experience of goodness, of right human relations, and of spiritual enterprise among men. Their name is Legion, and they are to be found in every nation. Well, it's going on right now, obviously. We, who maybe know a little now because of the instruction that we've been given, see that there are those who really care for the welfare of humanity and want to see that new and better way of life for all occur, and those who just don't care and who are looking for a better, more fulfilled material life, largely for themselves, and working under the spell of selfishness and not even realizing it, dogmatizing it as if it's some kind of law. The stock market will determine what is right. So I remember Dane Rudhyar saying that there's a lot of romanticism that goes around the idea of the age of Aquarius, but in fact, it will be the age of management. That's what he said. And when you try to manage human affairs, you are accused of socialism, globalism, you know, taking everybody into consideration. And there are people whose the sustainment of their privilege depends upon not offering to the larger group of human beings new possibilities. It's hard to think of that. I was just reading the other day that there is a member of the hierarchy who's called the adjuster of finances. And obviously, someone who really understands distribution and the use of the creative energy to improve the lot of everyone. You know, the days of searching for today's meal on the garbage heap will be over. But you can be assured that on the other side there are astute members, leaders, who know how to confound the better financial possibilities that humanity could experience. So we do live on this planet where we become adjudicators between the pairs of opposites, and we, for a time, will have to face the fact that harmony between the opposites does not yet exist. When the will of God, expressed in Shamballa and focused in the Buddha, the love of God, focused in the hierarchy, expressed in the hierarchy and focused in the Christ, and the intelligent desire of humanity, focused through the world disciples. So you begin to see what our task is, don't you? The intelligent desire of humanity focused through the world disciples. Our task is indicated. The world aspirants and men of goodwill are all brought into line, either consciously or unconsciously. Then a great reorientation can take place. This event is something that can happen. A great reorientation through alignment. And that's part of our task, is to promote this type of alignment as much as we can in the position in which we find ourselves. I think that that will be enough to read this morning here in Europe anyway, page up to page 170. And we get the idea of how it is that humanity really will be rescued from its own dweller. The battle is on, at last, between the dweller and the angel. It maybe was never so fully occurring. In the ancient battle of Kurukshetra, a part of that was happening, but now humanity is much more aware. So what we'll do here, and I think that takes us up to page 170, yes. And this is the 9th, and it is a morning session. And we will have the 17th, no, 16th, I believe. Let me just check. Yeah. The 16th will bring us together again and it will be the evening session. We have to absorb these things and apply them. We're in the midst of a phase of the battle right now. And certainly we see what happened in Germany and how the sensitive Piscean personality of Germany was completely overcome by these very skillful and oppressive forces. Uh-oh. Let's see. I seem to be...
Initiative webinar.
Okay, it looks like I got lost here and this turned off, but you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. It suddenly, just disappeared. I'm sorry. And I was speaking about the negative personality, the Piscean personality of Germany and how it was overcome by great oppressive forces. Well, some of those same forces are at work now within the United States, and we know about Gemini. It's the personality sign of the United States that frequently it brings through information of a very high quality, and other times it channels information which is totally useless, misleading, and obstructive, and brings us farther into the veil of glamour and illusion. So, I hope
Michael?
yes, Michael. Yes.
Friday the 16th is the new moon work.
Uh-huh.
And so we talked about postponing the Dissipation of Glamour webinar that normally would be at 5 p.m. GMT because the new moon Zoom meditation will begin at 6:30 p.m. GMT.
Right. Okay, then we're going to have to find a substitute for that. It may be I'll just put down perhaps postpone because we worked on that last night. It may have to be a couple of weeks before we get into it again and carry on with the results uh, as presented here. We'll work something out for you. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, the next Friday would be the 23rd.
Uh-huh. Well, that'll take us right into Scorpio. Okay. Yeah, okay. I will put that down and think about it. We'll think about it together. Perhaps, okay, the 23rd of October. Yeah, that brings us right into that intensifying of the energies. All right. Okay, friends, so we have a little bit that we've read, and we're in the midst of uncertainty at the present time, and the order of things seems to be changing, and there are changes in the relative strength of nations, and we are witnessing what may be the beginning of a period of significant suffering in the United States and certainly all over the world through this virus, which is now having a second wave. We're finding here in Europe that there are significant increases, and I think this is the case in the United States. We're nowhere near through this thing and its economic and social impacts. And yet, DK offers us a way here which through which we can respond and help to rectify the situation. If we care enough, I guess we have to care more than the group that had this opportunity in the 1930s and allowed the precipitation of violence to occur. Violence, again, is threatening. You probably have heard that some kind of plot with 13 men to kidnap the governor of Michigan was underway and stopped in its tracks by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But, it was already a plan unfolding. And Martian militias are springing up everywhere, trying to force the will of the personality upon those who are wiser and understand soul values. We have difficulties, and our work will count for something. Now, is there anybody that would like to speak, ask, offer something? Because this would be the time to do it.
And Olivia has raised her hand.
How did I know that that would be the case? Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah. It's so sad because this idea, the United States is sinking to a new low with this idea of these militia groups wanting to start a civil war and plotting among themselves and having these networks all over the United States. So this is really getting quite serious. And the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, said, this comes so much directly from Trump because he refuses to speak out against these hate groups. And in fact, he encourages them. So we're really, our crisis is getting deeper and deeper, and this idea of violence getting out of control is just really, it's really scary.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, we have 36 states that have voting going on right now. So
Yes. Yes. And that is encouraging because, there are so many. Well, we're working on manipulation, right? And there's so many manipulations that are occurring at the moment to suppress the voting of the people on the blue side. And I can't help but contrast the blue and the red. I don't think it's by accident that those colors are being used. It's Mars and Jupiter. It's the solar plexus and the heart, obviously. So at least there is some fulfillment going on right now, and the glutting of the voting on the day itself is being a little bit relieved. But it is extraordinary that I mean, who are these people that have come into the U.S.? Are they inherited from the past war? What is the story with them? Obviously, they've been called Trump's army, and that is a scary thought because it's kind of an insurrection, and it's a racist, socially antagonistic group that really want to destroy the gains uh, and the reasons for which this nation was founded and the reasons for which democracy has been advanced over these last 200 years. So this is a serious matter, as you have said.
mhm. Well, and then for those of us, who have seen Trump since he's had COVID and been hospitalized, and then did his joyride in the car to wave to people, putting the Secret Service people at risk. Then later with his helicopter ride back, to the White House and ripping off his mask and going into the White House with staffers. So
Yeah,
there's something, and then saying, It's the best he's felt in 20 years. So these drugs have these effects on him, on anyone. They have this highs and lows, and can lead to delusions of grandeur. He
Yes,
seems to
yes,
be experiencing all of this.
yes,
And yeah. And
yeah,
then his latest thing is, of course, he's just saying everything because he knows, or anything because he knows he's behind in the polls. But now he's publicly telling Attorney General Barr, who's his yes man, to arrest Hillary, to arrest Obama, Biden. I mean, he is just unhinged
yeah,
and
yeah,
acting
yeah.
like a crazy man.
So this is a very dangerous situation, and when we take these things into consideration in our inner meditation, we have to work to bring sanity back into the public demonstration of the government. It can only get worse as the election day approaches and as the desperation increases. And all I can hope is that humanity has learned something since the Second World War, and that the fascism, the racism, the idea of superiority over others has that lesson has been basically learned by many, many more, hopefully, than those who are seeking to reignite all of that. And we have to really make our contribution along these lines, which now we are trying to do. But I would just say, let us evoke all earnestness at this time. This is not just a battle going on in the United States. This is the fight for democracy within the human race. And it
Yes,
begins here. That's what has to
yes,
be
yes.
understood.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you say, well, that's your
Exactly.
nation. You're having trouble. I'm sorry about it. But it's not just our nation,
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
is much more.
Right. And this authoritarianism and fascism that spreading in so many other countries, it's being
Yeah,
having to deal with it too. So
yes,
we
yes,
have this collective experience as
yes.
well.
And immediately, well, what do we expect? Because the Christ is on his way. And the two first-rate planets, Pluto and Vulcan, and negatively, of course, they're all the things you don't want to look at about humanity. That's the Pluto part. And they are extreme weaponry under Vulcan, the fashioner of weapons. And, people are racing behind the scenes to still have the more destructive weapons whereby to dominate others. You can see this going on in this triangle of United States, Russia, and China. They are the ones who are capable of producing this kind of effect with the scientific mind. And it could get very problematic, you know. So whatever our conscience tells us internally as we work together in groups, this we have to follow out with an unusual degree of intensity at this time, because
Mhm.
the situation is more serious than perhaps we can normally imagine. Well,
Right.
and we're working. Let everybody work. Let everybody work uh, to 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 do our bit. To do our bit to forestall these very unpleasant and dangerous possible eventualities.
Right. And we're all needed for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone is needed, and that's the whole point. Nobody can say, correct, that well, my vote doesn't mean anything really. My attention to the subject. Who am I? Look at me. That's the way the forces of obstruction work. They try to inconsequentialize. You're not consequential. They try to put that illusion on people that they don't count. And every one of us is counting. Every one of us, absolutely. Well, onward we
Right.
go. Onward we
Thank you,
go.
Michael.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Olivia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's see, Michael. Who else do we have?
Kim has written in the chat box, there seems to me much misinformation and misleading information about the virus situation. There are some significant people speaking up about it. For example, this lawyer, Dr. Rainer Fulmick, and she gives a link for a YouTube link for that particular individual.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're just filled with misinformation on all fronts. Nevertheless, how many people is it now that have died worldwide? Um, does anybody know that figure? There's a site called Worldometer, which is a good one, and it gives all kinds of statistics. There's over 1 million deaths, and these are confirmed so far. I don't think it's a lie. I think a lot of the misleading information is telling people, don't worry, this is all a fluke, it's not real. And when you look at the statistics here, we have 36 million cases. Well, we have billions of people in the world, but still it's a drastic thing. We have the USA and India and Brazil rising rapidly. We have many people saying, well, you know, the numbers are off. It's not as bad as they say, and so forth. But it's bad. And I think there's no reason to distrust these figures. If anything, there seems to be a reduction of estimation compared to what's really going on. So you can check this. You can check your own nation, and you can check, you know, 2 days ago what it was, or yesterday what it was. We notice in the United States, for instance, it's always about 1,000 deaths a day, between 900 and 1,000 at the present time. India is just as bad, and there's a huge population there. Brazil is showing very dangerous signs here. Um, it's a complicated issue, but the ones who say don't pay attention to the numbers because they're just there to scare you, they are doing humanity no great service. And I think that during the flu season this year, when both are striking simultaneously and both are different, COVID and the flu, we may see some remarkable figures. And the word universal pandemic comes to mind because that's what the Tibetan wrote regarding Sanat Kumara's intention, or at least he says a universal pandemic had been planned, but humanity did thus and so it was not necessary. But now it does seem somehow, in the eyes of these greater lights, somehow it seems necessary. This could not be taking place without the will of the regulators, the higher beings, and it's all part of the preparation for the hierarchy. It's a cleansing, and it's a terrible thing, and we could do much better with it, but it's drawing out the attitudes, the negative attitudes of human beings, pointing to them, and perhaps finally expelling them from the repertoire of responses that ignorant people offer. So we have to live through this coming season, and we'll see what it brings to us. And meanwhile, of course, we can read all kinds of opinions, but we have to be very careful if anybody says, "Don't worry about it, it's exaggerated. It's just the flu." Okay.
Well, Kim added, while many people have died, there are millions more who have died of other diseases, and apparently the statistics are no worse than the annual flu figures. The case numbers are not necessarily accurate. I'm sorry, but I just don't believe the mainstream stats or information. It seems we may have to disagree.
Yeah, we will disagree on that point. And that's fine. Everybody has to come to their own conclusion. But, when it comes closer to people, then they are, increasingly cautious. So let us see how it pans out. Everybody has their own system of evaluation. You can believe what you like or what you believe what you believe, but obviously the whole thing needs adjustment and constant attention, because you well know that this misinformation about it's only the flu, which has been one of the major thrusts of the disinformation group, is not true. It's not only the flu. But believe what you will, and everyone will arrive at a conclusion which will be an informed conclusion at some point. Okay, is there anybody else?
Tia's hand is raised.
Okay, Tia. Let's see how we get you in here. There you go, Tia. Yep. You're on. You can speak, Tia. Your microphone is unmuted. Oh, do we have a problem? We have silence. So it may be something that's going on with your own setup there, possibly. Okay. Well, something is not quite okay. Maybe you'll be able to come back in, but your microphone is green. You should be okay. Just check if there's any kind of mute that's going on where you are. Oh, she fell offline. Okay, well, we won't be able to hear from her right at this moment. Okay, is there anybody else? I think a lot of us are. Oh, okay. We have Anne Veronica, is that right? She wants to speak. You're self-muted, Anne Veronica, so unmute yourself. There
Can you hear me?
Yes, we're good.
Hello.
Hello.
I want your take on this increase. We had a 2-day on meeting about the COVID, and with experts all over the world and from Europe that were saying many things.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them said that you need not to be worried about the COVID. The coronavirus was always with us, and the immune system can deal with it. But he said that 3/4 of the people will only get sick. That means 1/4 of the population, that's 25%, and that's a lot of people, will die. But what he was saying is, and that's what's worrying me very much, is that they are talking about vaccinations, and he was saying that there is no vaccination for the COVID virus. And it's like the big lobbies of the pharmacies are coming in and let's say advertising that we'll give you this and we'll give you that, and actually this won't work. I think that the whole world has to think on a different way, that we have to start eating better, being better with our planet, not eating all these foods that have that hit our immune system, so that we can deal better with this virus. I would like to send you the link to here and have your take on this, because there is the problem is much more complicated. It's not just that, okay, it's very bad, we are going to die, or it's okay, we don't give any we don't give it any attention. But there are these underlying dark forces, let me say, that are saying, okay, take this or take that or do this or do that, and in some way we have to clear the way and say something.
You know, we had this conference, and it was a virtual conference, and Leonie Hodson, who's from Australia, deeply into healing, she had some very good lectures on the COVID, and maybe from the esoteric point of view, reinforcing, you know, what is the goal here. In other words, something's behind it which is much more fundamental than just take this and get better. A change of humanity is required, a change within humanity, as you seem to be suggesting, our eating habits, our socialization habits, how we spend our leisure, how we spend our money, you know, what our values are, whether materialism continues to rule. Much wider and deeper implications are behind all this. So please, do send the link, and I'll take a look at Kim's link, and we can, you know, we all need to be increasingly informed. None of us is sufficiently informed. Even the experts are not sufficiently informed. So we will have plenty of opportunity to continue to study this, because it doesn't appear to be going away in predictably. And that's, of course, I think, because something is behind it which is seeking a kind of fundamental change within humanity, a fundamental reorientation in preparation for the emergence of the hierarchy. But Leonie's material is very good if you want to try to find that, and it should be.
Yes, please.
It should be on the YouTube, and I think, Michael, will we have the conference things on Makara, perhaps? Do you know?
I think when those get posted is a decision of the board of directors.
Okay, well, I think something's up there. So just take a look at our last presentations at the conference, virtual conference, and Leonie Hodson is her name.
Yeah, Michael, this is Olivia. I was thinking that I had that one on Spiritual Life TV channel, but I think I have her Truth and Distortion talk, and not the healing one. Yeah.
But she does well, and you know, going to your site there, Olivia, I mean, she presents because Truth and Distortion is involved in this as well, for sure. And that's what people are saying. You know, there's so many different points of view.
Yeah. So
So,
that's spirituallifetvchannel.com. I know I've got that one there if
oh,
you're interested. Anybody.
okay, very good, very good. Now, Tia, you're back, right? Are you back? You're self-muted, however. So would you still like to speak? Muted by an organizer. You shouldn't be muted by an organizer. You're just self-muted at the moment. If you want to, there you go.
Okay, so
Now you got it.
now I'm unmuted. Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
It's 2 a.m. here in America, but these times are so important. And so, what is the sacrifice of a few hours of sleep like we all do? I guess I just wanted to insert a little levity into this conversation because when we talk about COVID, it just goes to the heart of people and it hits us on so many different levels. I did very much enjoy Leonie's presentation at the conference. I felt that it was a very measured approach to looking at the disease and its impacts on a variety of levels. So I think it's helpful. I think that we're always, in a way, if we're in the work, prepared for these kinds of events, if we're connected. I know that prior to the onset of all of this, we, in this class, in the Dissipation of Glamour class, dealt with the glamour of death. And I thought that that was very helpful in dealing with these events and working on myself. But what I would like to say is we know that energy follows thought. And when I see all these distractions and everything that's happening, all of this sort of garish behavior, cartoonish behavior, I sometimes ask myself what else is going on that they're trying to distract me from. And what I would like to say is one of the things that I think that is just really, really wonderful, we keep talking about and praying for the strengthening of the new group of world servers. And I just wanted to say that I'm just seeing tremendous, tremendous changes and light, compassion. I see connection. I see invention, ingenuity, things that I've been missing a lot here in America coming to the fore. I see people creatively trying to approach problems and identifying things as problems that were ignored before. I see people wanting to enter into narratives that they didn't feel they had a right to enter. And I see them expressing it quite profoundly and with great strength. And these are the things that I like to focus on because I like to believe that humanity will come out of this better, stronger, and wiser. It may not look like it now. And we've all who've been here long enough have suffered. But I look at my life and I think I'm better for it. I don't invite it. I don't wish for it. But I have to say that I'm a better person for it. And I like to think that when we get through this, because I believe we'll all get through it, we're going to all be better, including America. So I just wanted to put that out. So everybody have heart, take courage, and don't let all of this stuff overwhelm you. Because it seems to be everywhere. But the light is still here, and we just have to look for it and expand it. And I think about neo-fascism, that they're talking about the rise of that in America. And I think one of the things that I like is the fact that we do have education. People criticize it and say that it's failed, but I think that people now are able to look at the situation in a much more skeptical, nuanced approach. And so I don't see people in America falling for or drinking the Kool-Aid, as they would say, that has happened in the past.
Eloquent, Tia. Thank you. Very beautifully said, and a positive beam on all of this. So thank you. Thank you for these thoughts. Encouraging. Anybody else? I think that may be it, huh? That may be it for the moment. Yeah.
That's pretty much it. No other hands raised that I am seeing, and just some general comments about excellent observations and so forth.
Yeah, I thought it was well spoken. We've had some very good statements this morning about the politically and in terms of our health. Well spoken, and we have to keep these thought forms, these positive thought forms, in the ethers. They have to be available to us, and they do their work. And I think there's no doubt humanity will emerge from this. I think the danger that humanity would be completely destroyed and have to begin again, that has been reduced since it was written about in the externalization of the hierarchy in the later 40s. The Tibetans saw some dire possibilities there, but I think there has been a reduction. And overall, I think that the people that represent the soul of humanity, they may not be louder, but they are stronger. And after the inevitable suffering, because we do live on this planet of pain to a degree. I mean, we are adjudicators between the pairs of opposites. We have to go through this. It's our nature on the earth. I think that the emergence will definitely come. And it will take many twists and turns, I think, along the way. But to have a conversation of this nature, pointing out the difficulties and yet the great possibilities, is very worthwhile. And what does DK say? Something like one person thinking truth can clarify their entire environment. We must not lose the idea that if we think truth with power and with love, that act alone can clarify so much of what might make people succumb if it's not treated correctly. Because there are many negative thought forms, we know, and we have to provide the opposite. Okay, well then in the chat box and so forth, we have different links, so you can pick them up and study these matters. The main thing to keep in mind is that there is a divine plan, and we will get there. There may be delay or maybe not, but we, every one of us, and in our groups, we can assist the emergence of this great plan emanating from Sanat Kumara and from the custodians of the plan in hierarchy. We're in the middle of it right now. And up front, it may look quite drastic. It is drastic, but it's all part of the process. So let's have our meditation, and in this meditation, we will somehow seek to counter these deliberate attempts to distort and to mislead and to manipulate. So we'll just enter the silence for a little while here. And wherever we may be geographically, we are together. And at all hours of the day and night, I have to hand it to you all. Some of you are really, really showing your commitment to forego peace, to forfeit rest. And we must use this protective formula with this cross of divinity, as he calls it. And so we use the protective formula. As a soul, I work in light, and darkness cannot touch me. I take my stand within the light. I work, and from that point, I never move. And so before each one of us, that protective cross of divinity appears, and before the group as a whole. And then we focus the dual light of matter and of mind on the mental plane. It helps us reason logically, think clearly, and in a sustained and vital manner. Two lights come together, and then we reach into soul light and try to get the feeling of what it is. And we bring it down to the mental plane and blend it with the two lights that are there focused of matter and of mind. And three lights unite. The wisdom of the soul, the clarity of the mind, the vitality to sustain all that. And we get the sense that we are preparing to build our instrument of detection and of dissipation. And we say together then, the light is one, and in that light shall we see light. This is the light that turns the darkness into day. And then we use the formula. We say either inwardly or outwardly, radiance are we and power. We stand forever with our hands stretched out, linking the heavens and the earth, the inner world of meaning and the subtle world of glamour. We reach into the light and bring it down to meet the need. We reach into the silent place and bring from thence the gift of understanding. Thus, with the light we work and turn the darkness into day. And we feel that great searchlight going forth from us as a group onto the astral plane. And we invoke the spiritual will to empower the beam, which at once finds the glamour and dissipates the glamour. And we say, empowering our group beam, we say, with power upon its beam, the light is focused on the goal. And we're working now with manipulation. There is a strong attempt to arrange circumstances without the knowledge of people involved in them, arrange circumstances in such a way that the will of the people is denied. And basically, we all have a piece of the great will. And when our little part of that will cannot get through, something is definitely missing, and the will to manifest the plan is somehow weakened. So we seek to recondition the astral plane so that we are not misled and so distortion does not enter. We are not misguided. We are not imprisoned and thwarted. But that the will of each one of us, according to the light we have, may express. And so we use these words of power. The power of our united light prevents the appearance of the glamour of manipulation. The power of our united light negates the quality of this glamour from affecting humanity. The power of our united light destroys the life behind this glamour of manipulation. And we will have our 5 minutes of silence where we ponder these words of power, and we will see, as we visualize our lighted beam, that it penetrates into the glamour and produces its weakening and its dissipation. So let us work together with this glamour of manipulation and see it no longer appearing, no longer taking over, no longer vitalized. we withdraw our beam, we refocus upon the mental plane. We take our attention away from the astral plane. We redistribute the triple light. And we have the confidence, the belief that some little bit of weakening this glamour, making it unsuccessful as it is attempted by those who would mislead and fool, has been accomplished. And we have to continue our work because the clash between the forces of obstruction and the forces of the angel, they will intensify. So in our own lives, let us make sure that we deal straightly with people, and not try to engineer outcomes which we selfishly may want to see happen, but which are against the will of the people who are blinded by our machinations. And we will sound the Om 3 times. For each of the 3 vehicles, from the mental through the physical. Friends, let's stay very alert these coming days, because humanity is making important decisions. And we are in that sign of decision-making, Libra. It will determine which way we go, and whether there will be a smoother entry into the age of Aquarius, accompanied by the presence of the hierarchy, or whether that process will be in some way delayed. Tonight we will have our work on cosmic fire. We can blend all these things together, the practical and the theoretical. And if we are going to be real students of occultism, that's what we have to be able to do. So thank you. Many blessings. Lots of love to all of you. Thank you for being here, and we'll get this on for you. And tonight there will be a Zoom. It'll be a Zoom meeting on cosmic fire. Next week we'll have the new moon and work connected with the destiny of the nations and the Esoteric United Nations. All of this can come together. And in some kind of synthesis in our consciousness, it must come together. So we'll be seeing you probably fairly shortly. And bye for now from the whole communications group. Bye-bye.